Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live event. My name is John Carlisle, owner and co-founder of InfiniteAge. And today we have a special guest with us. I'm excited to announce Brandi Jackson, holistic therapist and mental health therapist. So, Brandi, can you do us a favor and tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do as a mental health therapist and holistic therapist?
Yeah, so I am Brandi Jackson, licensed in the state of California. I am a holistic therapist and mental health therapist, and primarily what I do is support my clients to balance or stabilize with anxiety, with depression symptoms, with PTSD, with stress, and also a part of my work as a holistic therapist includes nutrition support, also mindfulness support, and on occasion a little bit of personal training kind of woven in there too.
Wow, that's very interesting. I love that because I feel like the mental health is very important, especially within our community. It's like they got a stigma, and I wanted to break that because mental health is big. I think, especially when you're in control and you actually are at peace mentally. You know how to express yourself and actually really just like live within your own brain and not with the propaganda of what they feed you. So before we start our Q&A today, I'm going to be giving away a bottle of CMOS Advanced to one lucky participant. And in order to participate, I want you to choose a number between 1 and 75 and put in the comment section. And at the end, I will be announcing the winner. So, Randy, are you ready? I'm actually really interested into learning more because this enlightening, and I'm looking to walk away with a lot more knowledge on your field.
Yeah, I'm
So,
excited. Should be fun.
you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, what's the first thing or things to do when looking to live a more natural lifestyle?
hmm Yeah, I think it's two things. So one is to consider your environmental stressors and your behavioral stressors. So like what's happening in your environment that could potentially be kind of creating the barrier to the goal. So if you want to live a healthier lifestyle, like what's really in the way of that as far as your environment? Like, do you know where the best grocery stores are? Like, do you feel good about that? Or do you feel like your household is on board with like healthy eating? Like, what is the actual barrier kind of in the environment? And also, you want to consider your behavioral stressors too. Like, if you work a lot, it might be harder to have time to go to the grocery store. If you work a lot, you might be too tired or too stressed. So like, how do you organize behaviorally as well as environmentally to create the success you want? So when you do start the healthy practice, it is stabilized to continue versus what happens a lot for a lot of people is that there's a kind of all or nothing, black or white approach to healthy habits. So, like, I'm going to go to the gym every day, or I'm going to eat healthy every day, and I'm going to cook every meal from scratch and all of that. But then life is going to come back in and cancel your plans pretty quick from there. So, it's just one of those things where you want to kind of just set yourself up for success by also outsmarting yourself, essentially.
Wow. I mean, I can identify with that. It's definitely to get you have to have preparation and then find that balance, like you said, because I feel that sometimes you'll start and you'll probably be good for a whole week, maybe 2 weeks, because my biggest thing was the meal preparation. Being consistent with that. Like you'll be good for 1 week, and then something could throw your day off, right? And you don't get a chance to meal prep, or the store you went to doesn't have what you need, and next thing you know, you kind of backslide a little bit. So I get what you're saying, especially with stuff that just affects your mind too. Like as far as stress, like sometimes when you're stressed out because of your environment, I feel that your mind's it's real cloggy or cloudy,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't make the best decisions. You can't stay consistent. I feel like the balance has to be there. in order for you to continue to like keep that going so that you get past that hump. So I feel that it's like 6 months of doing something, it'd be first nature after that. And I'm pretty sure you have a system and everything locked in so that you could continue that path.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's like 60 days to 6 months. So like a lot of folks will say like 21 days to create a habit, but that's just like to actually establish the habit versus create the habit. So like just getting set up to maintain the habit versus like you're efficient or proficient with your habits. So yeah, I think 6 months is a great window. And what you said just made me think of like stress as like a really important precursor, environmentally speaking or behaviorally speaking, to determine like, okay, I meal prep last week and it's not working out this week. So like, what's my backup plan?
Yes. I mean, stress is, I don't even like saying that word because your brain starts to prepare for it. I don't like saying I'm stressed. I don't even like to say it because your brain will start to prepare like we're gonna get stressed, and then the next thing you know, it follows through. It's pretty deep how the mind works. So definitely, if you could figure out those what causes that to avoid it and just to keep pushing, because it's easy to it's mentally it's easy to kind of like fall back or just to give up. You have to keep on maintaining that discipline, consistency, persistence. It's every day. It's like you all you can do is take one day at a time, though. So that's really big. So, what caused you to take this career path?
A lot of things. So for me, I feel like the first thing that really put me on my path is just having my own personal experiences with like health, nutrition, like mood management, stress management, just really wanting to like stabilize how I move in the world versus feeling reactive to what's happening in the world. So I think way back, like 10, 15 years ago is kind of when my journey kicked off to just really start organizing and figuring out what is it that actually works long term, where it is low impact and holistic ideally versus like needing to um, resource other people or things. Not that that's a bad thing, but I want to always be able to fish for myself, if that makes sense. And I think that's ultimately the skill we all can benefit from. So being able to just kind of organize, like, okay, like this set of things is helpful for me. And maybe I call in support from, a personal trainer of my own or whatever, but I'm also going to like figure out how to do these things for myself. So over the years, I got pretty good results and then felt like I wanted to help more people. And honestly, I brought this into my client sessions. So like for my mental health clients, some of them would like see that I was pretty chipper, happy-go-lucky, and they were like, "Hey, how do you figure this stuff out?" And then I was like, oh, "Okay, so let's talk about your fitness. Like, what are you doing as far as movement? Okay, let's talk about your nutrition. What are you doing for nutrition? Okay, let's also talk about self-care because mind, body, spirit is the whole person." So I just kind of realized the clients who were actually implementing all of those pillars of practice into their day-to-day, they were getting better a lot faster than the clients who weren't.
Wow. I like how it starts off because it's always like a lot of times it's nice where like for a career path, right? You actually you look from within and you kind of see like let me figure out how I could live a better life through this way of thinking and executing certain lifestyle patterns, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then that became like a passion, right, for you, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times in order to really help somebody, it'd be nice to have a passion for it so that when these people do ask you for advice, you can passionately like tell them this is my journey, this is what I went through, and
Mm-hmm.
this will help for me. And then it's pretty cool because you're kind of like a scientist at the same time because people are gonna come with their symptoms, and you're like, you know what? Let's try this. This worked for me, but everything that works for me doesn't even work for you. So that passion that's instilled within you is gonna make you dig a little deeper, just to figure out different ways to helping other people. But then you lock that in, so next thing you know, all these people that you're helping, you're just coming up with all different ways of how you could give people a better way of living, which is pretty cool because I mean you enjoy doing this. Like there's certain things like when I help people that feels really good, especially when you could give some advice or do something that actually really works.
Mhm.
and they're actually grateful for it too. So it goes both ways. It's nice that you can actually provide that service and actually help people really like change their life around, because it's really big. That's why I say mental health and mental wealth, like it's life to me personally, because life is mental. So
Mhm.
if you before you could pursue anything, I think that you got to get this in order and get that working properly so that you can actually dictate how your life goes, because it's mental and your actions and everything are going to fall behind that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a big, powerful piece of like mindset. So I find like for mindfulness, it really plays a strong role in like building out your mindset and like clearing out like blocks essentially to your goals. So it's like the primary piece of creating change, in my opinion.
Well, I went through some. So when I was incarcerated, I did 10 years, and my first thing was I wanted to expand my vocabulary, and I wanted to stop cussing. So what I did was I went to the library. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dedicate this time, and I want to go to the library, and I start just reading books, and I just wanted to start expanding my mind. And I was reading some random books. I just read random books because it's just trying to get the habit in just get the habit of just reading, sitting down, because you got to build that up, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Because if you don't read at all, if you try to read now, within 10 minutes, you'd be like kind of tired. So you got to build, your tolerance.
Hmm.
And I was reading random books, and then I realized every time I went back to the library, I was always in the psychology section. Didn't know why, but that section just captivated me. I was like, why do I always over here? And then I realized that I was really into psychology. I mean, I was like, this is pretty big, and that's how I got big on mental awareness. So throughout that time, once I got that momentum going, then I made a goal to dedicate 10,000 hours to my development. So I actually recorded. I sat down and listened to audiobooks. I read and I executed everything that I've read, and I hit my 10,000 hours of self development to become the person I am today. Because I definitely didn't want to come home like I'm institutionalized and just not have grown in 10 years, because that's a long time just to waste. So that was really big for me. So I get what you're saying when it comes to getting past your mental barriers, because I feel like the first victory in life is to conquer self, and to be conquered by self is of all things the most shameful and vile, because therefore you're not living, you're just walking dead in my
Hmm.
mind. Like you have your own life, you have your own spirit, but if you can't control that and you let the outside influences, which most people are controlled by propaganda and all the bad stuff that's out there, then
Hmm.
you're not living your own life. So that's why I'm really big on psychology. So that's funny you said that. It's like you're right on that. I feel the same way. I can identify.
Okay. Well, I have to say, well, congrats on the 10,000 hours. That's a very fun assignment. So that's really cool.
It was I enjoyed it because I was seeing the growth as I went. Because when you're in prison, you can't. It's kind of hard to evolve, with the world, because all you could do is watch TV and see what's going on. But in prison, you're within your own community, and I'm not gonna front. It's a you're in there with a lot of buffoons and the lowest of the lowest intellect. So
Mhm.
it's kind of hard. You have to really pick and choose who you like you said, your mental or your immediate surroundings. Like you have to be very careful who you allow to be around you and to
Mhm.
talk, and what kind of mindset, because you're preparing your mind to go out to the real world. And if you're around people that just watch TV all day and play cards, they don't have nothing to really to bring as far as any type of good conversation. I'll just look for good conversation, because that's what stimulates my mind and teaches me and teach me more about people and learning, and then I get to take the time to see how their mind developed, because there's different walks of life, and I've met some interesting people in my time, and I was like, wow, like, dang, that's why you are the way you are. And sometimes, like you said, it comes from the environment. Sometimes,
Mhm.
like in mental health, like people are kind of born into it, and
Mhm.
they can't break that cycle. And then sometimes I feel bad, like, wow. But then I'll be like, hey, personal initiative, like right now, what are you doing now? Like, you could take the time to read a book, or maybe to ponder upon a few things before you go home. Like, what do I want to do in my life? Do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep coming back to prison? So I feel like there's a balance, but you could definitely break that. And it's again, it always boils down to the mental, because that's where it first starts. So, what do you feel everyone should know before embarking on a natural and holistic lifestyle?
Okay, this is a good question because I feel what happens most often is that there's a pattern of feeling like you need to commit at 110%. And I feel like if you want to start a healthy lifestyle, natural, holistic, however you want to frame it, but like to just, try and do better in your lifestyle and feel like you're getting where you want to go, is to consider that you really don't have to do 110%. It's more ideal, in my opinion, and in my work, it tends to work better for folks to really sustain their results by having an incremental approach to change versus like the all or nothing dynamic. And I think there's a lot of reasons we end up with the all or nothing black white dynamic. So yeah, for me, what I found to be most helpful for clients to get the results is to practice incremental change, which is like what you were saying before about like, okay, I'm going to read for 10 minutes versus I'm planning to read for 10,000 minutes right this minute. Like you have to like stair step your way up to feel like, okay, I got this, and now I'm ready for the next piece of this challenge. So then you can increase your practice. So that's one of the key things that can make a very, very significant difference in like how the healthy lifestyle transition feels.
I couldn't agree more. It's definitely there's this thing called burnout. Like some people you'll burn yourself out. Like I tried, and like you said, the 110%. Like I'm gonna give everything. It's like no, you just slowly transition into it, because yeah, you might be able to maintain that, but this is more of a marathon, not a sprint, because you could sprint to the end and then it's done, but no, because then that's the burnout. But the marathon is like, let's take our time and gradually do this, because I've burnt myself out a few times, and I've learned that, like, just giving like, okay, I'm just gonna do it all like this, and the next thing you know, a couple months later, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
I wish I would have like learned that, but I had to learn that through that experience of just burning myself out. So to take that incremental approach, I think that's the only way you can do it. Especially when it comes to like eating, like being more healthy. Like some people, you got to get off like your addictions to like the sugar, certain little things that you're gonna have to like wean yourself off of. And sometimes I do feel like, for instance, I had a friend, he used to drink Coca-Cola all the time. And if he didn't have a Coke that day, like he had to drink at least one, or he has to drink them. I don't know how many he drank a day, but I know that if he didn't drink one in a day, he would have a migraine, a headache. I'm like, this is crazy. This is Coca-Cola. This is not no drug or nothing, but it is, because it's a sugar that he's addicted to. So you have to like, your body has to kind of be at the same pace with your mind, right? Like the same thing. Like, okay, well, if I do this, I don't want my body to ache, or I don't want my body to have withdrawals, because that's your burnout. That right there is the quick, that's the fastest way for you to give up. Like, oh, I can't do this no more. I can't take this approach. I want to be more healthy, but I don't even know how to get past this part, because I feel like my body needs this. That's why, are you big on cleanses before you would start? Like, say if you were to start that and get all that impurities and all that bad stuff out of your body, is that like would that be a good approach before starting?
That's a good question, and it's an interesting question because this actually came up maybe 6 months ago, because like every November everybody gets into the cleanses post holiday. So I was kind of looking at like, is it necessary to do cleanses to like reset for health? And it turns out from my research, it's not necessary per se. You can, but it's still more of an incremental approach that applies even to cleansing and detoxing your body versus like the all or nothing, even on that, because it can dysregulate your body to cleanse your body. Like in sometimes people want to do water fasting or this or the other thing, or like a juice cleanse. But if you were to create like a weekly or bi-weekly cleanse process, that would be easier, or less stress on your body and its system to like regulate you. So I guess like my opinion is cleansing can be good, but also that should be maybe more consistently woven into your routine versus like special occasion.
I agree because I have an experience, right? When I came home, I wanted to get all that processed food, all that junk that I was consuming for 10 years out of my body. So when I came home, I said, I'm gonna do a cleanse. But I think I did an advanced cleanse because it wasn't where I just took some supplements and then, kind of let my body flush out. I actually went to a place that there's a machine that they use to, get that stuff out of you. And that was like that experience. I would never go back and do that. And I would never tell nobody to do that because I kind of felt violated because they got this machine they put in your rectum, and it's like I was like, this is not natural, but it's supposed to be the best way because it's gonna come straight out of your body.
Colonic, right?
Yeah, and that I don't know, maybe what they were using, it was definitely too big for me. Like I'm like, hey, I don't this is too much for me. They said people do it, multiple times a week, but that was very painful for me. So my advice to anybody is like definitely figure out what kind of cleanse you want to do, because I think that whatever result I could have got from that one, I could still get the same result if I were to like take some stuff and kind of like let it run through my body and kind of like bypass it myself naturally. So you're right, because that right there, I was like cleansed. That was like my first time really cleansing, and that wasn't a good a good look for me. Like I was like, oh, don't cleanse. I don't want to tell people that, but I was like, don't go there and do that because it's painful for men.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a funny story because I was like, man, I went and got cleansed, and that was like, dude, don't do it. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again. So I'm gonna take a different approach. So definitely, to our viewers, make sure you figure out how you want to cleanse if you do cleanse, and take her advice as far as like work it into your system and just don't go too hard at the beginning. I feel like that's with anything that we're gonna be talking about. Everything's about a balance. You definitely want a balance, and you definitely got to have a way to work it in accordingly. Don't just full throttle stuff, because a lot of times they'll go to burnout or you have bad experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. I think colonics are mixed reviews. So a lot of people will try them and swear by them. But I don't know if there's definitely other methods you can use where it's less intrusive and still get the result and not feel like you need to adjust after doing something that's supposed to be good for you. So I don't know. I feel like a marker of a good approach is like how it makes you feel after. Like, are you needing a day off after you do a wellness method, or are you good? Like in my opinion, you should be able to be stabilized in your process versus like needing to recover.
Oh, yeah, recover. That's crazy. I had to recover like that stuff, like recover mentally. I'm still recovering from that. I'm like, I'm not, man, that was like, I don't know. I forgot who gave me that, like who gave me the reference to go there. And I went there and I was sitting in there and I was like, so how does this work? And they got this machine and you got to sit down and the lady trying to talk to you. She's like, this is natural. Just relax. I'm like, I can't relax. I never done this before. And this doesn't feel normal to me. Like, I almost feel like, this can't be right for men, but definitely, I was just looking for clarity. I feel like when I was in prison, I cut out a lot. I cut out a lot of the processed food, even though everything's processed. I cut out the bare, like pretty much all the meats and everything. And I just ate the basics, the rice and the beans. And, I just kept it real vanilla. And one thing about it is, and I drank a gallon of water a day. And my body was so pure that if I were to take like an Advil or ibuprofen, I will feel that in my body. So I know my body was pure. So that's why I wanted to maintain out here. Because in there, this is a funny story. I used to, when I did eat the meats, I actually waited until the weekend. It's called a spread. And that's when I would wait until the weekend. So I was like, okay, well, I'll starve just eating just like rice and beans and stuff. Like, you got to kind of reward yourself with a little bit. So I did reward myself with the other, bad products of the meat and cheese and all that. But I just waited until the weekend. I waited to drink my juice until the weekend. And then I had cookies. And what I did was I had cookies. My favorite one was oatmeal, oatmeal iced cookies. And each rack would have 8 cookies. And there's 3 racks. So I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Friday, I pull these cookies out and I look at it like, okay, this is all you get. So however you want to eat these, you can eat them. Don't eat them on an empty stomach because they're going to be gone. I like to try to eat much and to kind of like eat 2 or 3. But it was ultimate discipline because I was eating 8 cookies in a day and I look forward to it. It tasted so good because I anticipated it. Like I was waiting all week, like, oh, tomorrow's Friday, I'm about to go eat my cookies, today. And then on Sundays, like my last, like, oh, now I gotta wait all the way until Friday again. But it felt good because there was a disciplined exercise, and the cookies taste better because if you always can reward yourself with something immediately and you don't really work for it, then it's not as good. And that's how I felt. So I wanted to break that in there because people might think it's funny, but it's big. If you could control your mind and what you ingest in your body at all times, and reward yourself accordingly, or just don't give it to yourself. Make yourself work for it. Do something, earn it. So that's why I said that. Even if it's on a smaller term because it's in prison, but it was cookies we were talking about, cookies and juice and like processed food.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like a good deal because like it was something you pulled into your weekends to like not be so regimented. So like even that is really great skill of moderation of not just saying, okay, I'm going to do this every day and then build out like more of a dependence on this being your daily routine, but like moving it so we can to like mix it up a little bit. So that sounds like a pretty cool approach.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that like you say, breaking stuff in incrementally. Like I always use the weekend. That's like my giveaway. Like a lot of times, like when I want to kind of relax and decompress or something. Say if I have my weekdays real strict, and it's just like, well, on the weekend I get Friday and Saturday I might go out, do a few things, have a good time, and then Sunday is like the day that I just completely decompress, relax, don't do too much, and just sit at home and like let my body rest and let my mind rest and just be ready for Monday. That's how I prepare for Mondays. So one more question. We got 2 more. Why do you believe there's a complete lack of promotion of healthy living within the Black community?
This is one of the most fun questions I have been asked because it pulls on so many like subtopics, because this is a very good question, but it's also a very profound or big question ultimately because there's a lot of moving pieces. So I had to kind of think about like one, structural racism and like just kind of like the systems of oppression. So like that is a big part of it. There's actually an advantage to keep populations distracted ultimately. But then I thought about the question from another angle, which is like, what is to be gained by inequity ultimately? And to me, it seems as though it creates a bit of a safeguard for whoever is in charge or what have you, to have people be distracted or have limitations or barriers presented that would more or less keep people from doing other things. So that's my nicest way of saying this, because I thought about this question for a little bit because I was like, how do I answer this question specifically without becoming angry ultimately, or causing anyone else to become angry, because like that's not necessary in this moment. But I think it's to maintain a disadvantage, because if it's good for one population, why would it not be valued to any other population? So if you kind of look at who is being seeing like the model example of access to health and wellness, and it's not people who look like me or you potentially, then you can kind of assume like there is a value there that is being reserved for a specific group of people. So disadvantage, distraction, and retaining like the structural system that is at play. That's my best answer.
I like it. I agree. That's one of the reasons, like when we started InfiniteAge, it was like I looked and there was not too many companies out there that was actually providing anything for the Black community. Like I couldn't find nothing. So I was like, wow, like this is big. Like why don't we have more companies out there that's helping the Black community? So like for instance, within our community, we have a prevalence of obesity, and that has heart disease, high blood pressure, and things like that. Like, these are big, and this is killing us.
Mhm.
And we don't have nothing out there, nobody out there that's actually providing a supplement or some type of service to help us with that. And that's why InfiniteAge came about, and that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that we can help people live a better and holistic lifestyle, but at the same time, we want to kill these diseases. The heart disease is really big. High blood pressure is really big. So why not provide a product that actually can help them with that? And then on top of that, it's like, it's better to live a natural, holistic way, because our temple, we only get one temple. This is one body, and the more damage you do it to it early, the more you're gonna have to repair later. But if you could start getting into that mind state of being holistic and natural, and just, I mean, really, once you start doing it, you start feeling it, it speaks for itself. You're gonna know, like, oh, I love being healthy. This feels better. I didn't know it felt this good to be this healthy, or feel this way. Your vibrancy. You just feel different. Trust me. You when you're sluggish and you just like, oh, I'm over. When you're kind of like tired, that sucks.
Mhm.
Always being tired, because that's where obesity comes. You're like, oh, I'm always tired. I don't want to do nothing. I can't catch my breath. I don't want to do that. It takes away from your quality of life, because now, we're ready to sleep a third of our life.
Mhm.
So then if you're ready, you're a little overweight and you don't have the energy to go do stuff, like, you're just robbing yourself. So
Mhm.
definitely we have to keep this promotion up and letting people know that, hey, you can live a more natural life.
Yeah, it can be a matter of like, I think of like access a little bit. So, like healthy healthy food and supplements are often described as like expensive or difficult to find. So sometimes what I feel that comes up in like Black communities more specifically is like the food desert situation, which is basically like there aren't a lot of grocery stores in all communities that are of color. So it could be like the convenience store where you might have to go and get what you need for the week, or like having less healthy options as far as groceries. And that makes it really difficult to kind of work with. And I think there's still room, even like if you go to maybe some convenience stores, to look for some options that can get you closer. So maybe it won't be perfect, but maybe there are specific ways of approaching even like the grocery store when there are limitations for having like everything, or maybe some of the things in the grocery store is expensive. So to me, I think of like, how can you create like a basic grocery list where you're considering expenses. So like instead of eating eggs for breakfast, maybe it's oatmeal, because you can get a whole container of
Yeah.
oatmeal for like $2, and then you're coasting all week long. So like it's just a matter of maybe your food preferences a little bit too. Also, like what is available to you, and how can you do harm reduction, which is a term usually used for substance use, but it's basically stating like how can you do like the lesser harmful option with what you have too.
Yeah, definitely got to put a game plan together, because food can be expensive. I think that might be a deterrent. When you start going to the Whole Food stores and it's just organic and it's like $6 more, you be like, why? How on earth? And I can't confirm this, but it says it's an organic. But
Yeah.
like you're saying, you have to really sit down and put a list together. Like when I used to buy my store, you can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this. No, I'm gonna calculate every number so
Mhm.
I can make sure I can afford this and I can get what I want. But definitely, you're right. Taking the time. That's just being mindful and just really sitting down and find the substitutes, because you don't have to always get the stuff that's organic and all that. I mean, I'm pretty sure everything's healthy,
Mhm.
but what I'm saying is, I went shopping before and I remember I spent like $100 on
Mhm.
pretty much a couple things, and I was like, how? So maybe I could have made a better decision by like, okay, well maybe this is the same as this, but I could still get this, and
Mhm.
it's the same. So
Mhm.
it makes sense.
Yeah, one more thought came in. It's just like if you do have access to different grocery stores, depending on which one you go to, they also have like those giant bins where you can just like take a certain amount of an ingredient, which is usually way lower cost. So like at a Whole Foods, instead of even buying the oatmeal in the container, if you go to like the bin where they have the bulk oatmeal and just get whatever
Oh,
you need, it's actually usually like half the price or even less.
yeah. That's a everybody listening, because right now we know we're trying to live healthier. But I know sometimes that's the deterrent. Like you're like, I can't afford to spend this much money. Nobody really wants to spend that much money because you're like, this is healthier. Like it's crazy that the crap, don't cost that much because I can afford that to put that in my body. But when it comes to this healthy stuff, you want to charge me arm and leg, so it's hard for me to consume this. It feels like, what is this, only one section of people that got a certain tax bracket that could live a healthy lifestyle? Like, we don't want them to feel like that. What kind of diet are you currently following?
I am on a couple. So I don't like diet as a word too much because I'm more of a lifestyle practitioner. So like as far as diet, they come, they go, you change your mind, you fall off, you get back on, or like whatever the case. So for me, I feel like it's okay to assign diet, but my personal approach is instead to see it as like, what is your lifestyle? How are you setting yourself up to practice like healthy nutrition or whatever's suited for you? So the other piece of this is like, what specifically works for you as an individual versus like the big picture diet culture kind of concepts. But I would say I am, if I had to pick, I would say that I'm plant-based, but just for clarity's sake, plant-based in my training means that you can still consume animal products if you'd like, but it is kind of measured and tempered in a certain way. So you're not eating tons of meat, but you can still eat meat if you'd like. Usually with plant-based eating, it's like 2 ounces a day at most. So you want to have some good substitutes if you're on a plant-based diet. So like beans or tofu or whatever else you want to eat, it can be really good to mix in so that way you're not getting bored with your nutrition. But the other side of that is I practice OMAD, which is a fasting technique for intermittent fasting, which is interesting too. So it's just like a fasting for mental health can be a really good balancing act of like busy schedule and lifestyle. So for me, I like to practice OMAD to like manage my attention mainly. And that may not be for everybody's lifestyle. So I'm not trying to walk anyone down that road, but what that looks like in practice, just because it can sound like a lot, OMAD is 1 meal a day, but I don't thoroughly practice 1 meal a day all the time, just a couple times a week to reset my body. Okay. And then outside of that, I do warrior fasting is what it's called as a shorthand, where you eat within a 4-hour window for the day. So that way your body is still kind of doing more or less the same thing. So it's kind of a long story short situation, but fasting or intermittent fasting can be really great for just general health, mental health, cell recovery, longevity, all these wonderful things, immunity, stress management, clarity, tons of stuff, but also like trying to have moderation in these 2 lanes as well. So none of this is static all the time. So you still get to be a human.
I feel the same way because a lot of times, where it's like, well, I got to be a vegan or I got to do this, and they're strict. Like we only have to do this, and it's kind of like everybody's body's different. Everybody's gonna go through what they go through to get to that point in their life on how far as that dialing in their diet. Like for instance, I do intermittent fasting myself. I just recently, I just got a subscription on because I don't really have time to always sit at home and do my meal prep yet because I'm single, and when I get home sometimes I'm tired and I don't have time, or I just don't feel like cooking at the time. So right now I'm on a subscription, but it's plant-based, and the meat that I eat, I'm dialing back on it, but I do eat free grazed free grazed chicken, and same thing with the cattle. It's like it tastes more clean. Definitely cutting back more on it. And just like I said, moderations, maybe on the weekend I reward myself with some steak or something, but I'm definitely trying to get a little bit more lean and in tune, because I do, my diet is based on like clarity. I always want to make sure my vibrancy is up and my brain is clear, because then I can perform at my highest levels at all times. So I feel the same way when it comes to that with the diet. I'm going to learn more and more. I mean, as you said, you're going to kind of, certain things are going to come along, and I go with how I feel too. Really, feeling is everything for me. Like, I'll know if I feel good or if I don't feel good, and if this is good for me. So,
yeah. One other piece of like fasting or intermittent fasting specifically that I've noticed in my practice, and maybe this is true for yours too, but like sleep is a factor for a fasting day. So if there is less sleep, which kind of pulls me all the way back into the beginning of this conversation about stress. Like if you are not getting sleep, your stress tends to shoot up a bit, which means that you're more likely to have impulsive behaviors around your healthy habits and fall into like the not so healthy habits. So in case that's helpful to just kind of consider or good food for that.
Wow, you hit it right on the head right there. Well, that was thank you for enlightening me and all our viewers on holistic and mental health as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of people learned something of value today, and hopefully they could take something with this and actually interject it into their life, or something that would be beneficial to them. So, because this is a great interview. Thank you for taking the time to do this and enlighten everybody, because I've learned a lot myself.
Thank you. Lots of fun. Definitely, you have funny stories.
I got a lot of them.
Those in. Yeah.
So we're at this point where I did tell our participants that I will be giving away a bottle of CMOS Advanced, and it is time to see who the lucky winner is. So I'm going to do this, and let's see. This is my new little voice. I act like I'm like actually like and we have a number 55. Chachi Garcia, you are a winner. Thank you for participating, and thank you for watching this Q&A. You have won a bottle. Please DM me your name and your address, and I'll get that shipped out to you as soon as possible. And I got one more question to wrap this up. What will be your final advice for our viewers?
Yeah. If you're considering a healthy lifestyle approach, already count yourself in the game. So like instead of thinking like this is something that I can't achieve or I haven't achieved yet, just you thinking about it is a step in the right direction. So that could be your point of entry to go further in the journey. So if you're on like thinking about it now, just kind of consider that you're already moving in the direction. And if you are open to just kind of pacing your journey, you can be successful. So you've already started today essentially, if you want to see it that way. Working with mindset, like you can choose that at any point.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, and please invite our viewers to subscribe to your channel if they want to become more enlightened and learn more, because you have so much to offer. And I appreciate you taking the time today to be here today. Thank you so much. And it was fun asking these questions and learning, because I learned a lot. There's a lot of stuff I'm about to implement in my life.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me. It is really fun to kind of share what I have found to be helpful in my experience and working with clients. And of course, if anyone is interested to follow my work, I'm over on YouTube under the Brandi Jackson Wellness YouTube channel, and I offer videos primarily about daily therapy, which is a series for self-actualization, which is something I really believe in, and focus on offering tips and support regularly around, and also do some spiritual download work over there just to kind of share like how we can be more aware of what's actually going on versus what's happening externally, if that makes sense.
There you have it. Thank you for watching, and thank you. Happy Monday, and everybody have a blessed and wonderful day.
Happy Monday.
Thank you.